In December 2023, 41-year-old George Sampson approached a woman loading groceries into her car at a Takanini supermarket, forcibly yanking her handbag off his shoulder and knocking her to the ground. The stolen bag contained her driver's licence, house and car keys. Within an hour, Sampson had used her bank card for 8 transactions, totalling just over $1,600. The victim now feels too afraid to go shopping alone. Sampson initially denied the charges but later pleaded guilty. He was this week sentenced to 22 months in prison for the robbery and spending spree. The judge, during the sentencing, highlighted the significant impact on the victim, noting her lingering fear due to the theft of personal items and, of course, the physicality of the attack. And while this theft happened 13 months ago, what really has changed? Are we, under this government, getting on top of retail crime? In particular, and I'm not talking gangs or drug crime, there's a lot of crime, but what is happening to our shop owners, big and small? Now, a very good friend of mine just this weekend saw a brazen theft. She was at a Woolworths in our local area. This guy was in the beer chiller, she says, putting stuff just boldly into his backpack. When she saw him, when he came out, he went to the wine section. He was carrying a box of beers. He had a Woolies basket and filled up with bottles of wine and then just turned and walked towards the exit. Now, she alerted 2 staff members and said that guy there is walking out, he's stealing. In the meantime, he went straight through the self-checkout area and out into the mall. She then saw 2 staff members talking to the staff at self-checkout. When they came back, to her, they said, "We've told the manager, she's calling the police." So my friend stood there and she watched, and then everyone just went back to their normal duties. So my friend's a bit kind of like, bullheaded. She went up to them and said, "So you're calling the police, right?" And that's when a woman said, no, we didn't really, because nobody does anything. They don't do anything. And I said, "How do you know if you won't even call them?" She said, "Well, they've told us that they won't come, so we don't bother anymore, and that this type of theft happens daily and that the staff have been told by Woolworths to not do anything." So she jokingly said to them, "Oh, well, I won't pay then, if that's your policy." And apparently the staff member just shrugged her shoulders. Now, she said it's disgusting that you're all standing around chatting, doing nothing, because you're actually encouraging the thieves, because that's their reaction. They know they're untouchable. And she said, again, lots of shrugging shoulders, and they kept saying, "We just can't touch them." So she said, "Well, I'm not asking you to wrestle them to the ground." You're arguing with the poor staff. Anyway, she said, "I'm angry, Leah, because I'm not shopping there anymore, because since I know now that basically it's an advertisement for a free-range thieving environment. And it sucks. Because in today's society, I see it on daily videos of this, and this is what she said, shit behaviour going on across Auckland, and it makes me cross that I'm the numpty, honest person paying, and that scum gets away from this to go home laughing, drinking their free booze." And it's not the first time she said she's seen this. She saw another woman pushing an overloaded trolley out the door, and staff did nothing either. So, is it true the police won't even bother to turn up? Grocery staff are told they can't do anything, which my friend says perpetuates more people to steal, because hell, why not? And I understand that they've got to think about their safety, and my friend says, I don't expect you to wrestle them to the ground, but as I said, $2.6 billion annually cost in retail crime that flows through to retailers. Now, remember the government in September appointed 4 members to the Ministerial Advisory Group for Victims of Retail Crime. The group is led by Sunny Kaushal and is tasked with tabling proposed legislation for the government to consider. Justice Minister Paul Goldsmith said at the time, "I'm particularly interested to see some options on how security guards and business owners can better protect themselves." So, after all of that, where are we? One of the members of this Ministerial Advisory Group for the Victims of Retail Crime is Waikato community advocate and business leader Ash Parmar, who thankfully has been waiting patiently, listening to me. And he joins me now. Ash, good afternoon, my friend.
Good afternoon and Happy New Year.
Yes, great to speak to you again. Happy New Year. No, so look, thank you for hanging in there, because you would have heard my friend's story of what she saw just over the weekend, and also of the man that was sentenced this week. So, New Year, where are we at as a member of the Ministerial Advisory Group on retail crime?
So very specifically from the work we've conducted, we've kind of broken it down to work streams, and us as a panel have conducted work on 2 work streams and submitted what we kind of see and want and suggested to the 2 ministers, who is Paul Goldsmith and Nicole McKay, the 2 people who've, I guess, appointed us to this panel.
Yep.
And it's kind of just sitting there at the moment. Obviously, we have this lovely summer break that has come, and I'm hoping the submissions we've made, especially on those 2 work streams, the first one was very specifically around the Trespass Act, the first one was around property rights. What can, like you said, the staff in the supermarket or dairy liquor store, what can they actually do or not do in terms of defending their property? Because at the moment, people are just standing by, but far too often, very small business owners, who I can't represent because I am one myself, they get quite emotional because it is literally their property. They don't work for a supermarket or a gas station. They are working for themselves, or they are a 2 or 3 staff unit. So they feel quite emotional when someone steals because they feel like someone is stealing from them. So they do get involved, and they unfortunately get hurt far too often. And we've seen lots and lots of footage of that, lots of reports, of the aggravated robberies. So we've collated information we had to, and it is quite wide. You've got people like Lindsay who's on there, who's from Food Staffs. You've got someone from Michael Hill Jewelers, Caroline, who's another member from Retail NZ.
Oh, yes,
so very wide-reaching information has been gathered and submitted to the ministers. And if you recall, I spoke to you about this panel when I first got appointed to it, and I said initially, we can do the work we want, but it will be up to the politicians if they have the courage to take on the submission, take on the recommendations, and make the desired changes, which one of the biggest one is your average retailer needs to retain the right to defend property. We can't just allow, people to just take whatever they want. And the other one was the security guards. At the moment, businesses are paying $65 to $70 an hour at the minimum for a security guard to just stand there and do nothing. So we've made a lot of recommendations in that space.
Is that what they make, Ash? 60 to 70 bucks an hour. Jeez, I'm in the wrong game.
The poor security guard doesn't make that much. Let's not go down that rabbit hole.
Gotcha. Yeah,
but that's what they get charged out at. Yeah. So they get charged out at that, at a contract rate. But they really can't do anything, So we've collected information, and we take submissions from the Security Council of New Zealand. This is who represents all the security guard companies. They're like the peak body in that. So we've listened to them as well, collated information, and again, presented it to the 2 ministers. So my understanding is these things will be tabled at cabinet level soon. So let's see. And I mean, we are going to start working on a work stream 3 and 4 very, very soon, which I can't talk to.
Okay.
But we've done our work, Leah. We've collated. We've talked to. We are retailers. The 4 of us. We come from different industries. Yeah. My experience is in the small business side, but we've got a grocer, we've got a jeweler, and we've got Caroline, who represents a very, very big range of retailers. So
yes,
we'll
she's
collate
business.
information.
Is she business? What is she?
Retail NZ.
Retail NZ, yeah.
So
and then you've got someone representing the supermarket side as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, good things are happening. Changes have come. Things like 3 strikes have come back. A lot of other stuff is coming along, and the politicians are working on other stuff as well. But one of the key places, which I know is not work we are conducting, but the youth space remains a bit void or unaddressed, and you and I have talked about it significantly in the past, how some of the youth are specifically being used repeatedly to do offending at a large scale. Like you've got supermarket examples where parents are basically walking 4 steps behind a 8 to 12-year-old and telling them to shoplift things on demand, filling up the bag because they know nothing's going to happen to the child, and that's just not good enough.